Alright, let me start by addressing some things I didn't mention in my previous video with the gradient saber there. So, among the things I forgot to mention, and people did actually ask me in the comments, was what kind of blade I had for it. And I actually went with the RGB basic blade, the 26-inch one, which is the most affordable option, especially like being a first saber and all. I just kind of wanted to see what the basic setup was. So there were some questions about like the sound effects and why when you ignite the lightsaber it didn't like travel up the blade. Well, that's for the more advanced pixel blades. So I hopefully that clarifies something which I didn't mention in the comments section, and I really should have mentioned that if I was actually going to give like a decent-ish review of the lightsaber. But anyway, love this thing, and it was only a matter of time before I got another one, and I thought this time I would try a pixel blade. So, which one did I go for? Well, I decided to spend a bit more money on it, and I went for what is known as the Prodigal Son version 1 affordable version. Essentially Luke Skywalker's lightsaber from Return of the Jedi, which, if you ask me, Qui-Gon may be my favorite Jedi of not the Star Wars series, but my favorite lightsaber is this one. Luke's from Return of the Jedi. There's just something so cool I just like about the shape of it and just the look. So this is the affordable version. The reason it's called that is you can get basically a replica version as well on Theory Sabers, which costs a bit more. It's kind of the basic price in the UK is $240 if you're going for the basic RGB blade, but you know, if you want to go for like one of the pixel or profile blades, you're going a little bit further up than that. But still, if you were to get this with like basic 26-inch pixel blade, it's actually not that expensive. Well, compared to other sites, you may be able to get similar things, which is $296. The primary difference in this, and why it's kind of the affordable version, is it's not quite as screen accurate as the Prodigal Son, say, Return of the Jedi version 2 replica, which you can get. But honestly, even looking at it, the main difference between that and the more screen accurate blade is just there's kind of a raised section, like somewhere around here. When I was a kid, I always thought like maybe it was a button or something. So that like kind of sticks out. But apart from like that not being present on the cheaper affordable version, I think this looks absolutely fantastic. It is basically the same lightsaber. It's got a nice weight to it, a nice size to it, and definitely it just feels right to hold. Now, the inner workings of this one are somewhat different from the RGB gradient blade. It actually has a battery pack in it, which you take out to charge, and it did come with this little charger, which was nice. And then you have to, you know, actually put it in the board, and then put the board inside the saber itself. It's got various points where you can screw it open, but it's mainly the bottom here that you need to open up to gain access. So you just have to also make sure you slot it in correctly when you do charge it up. Something, and this is probably just personal preference, I do like with the gradient RGB blade, it is relatively simple. This one, it's just got a section in it that you open up and plug in, like straight away. I do find this battery a bit fiddly to take out and like put back in here. Like, I'm kind of afraid I'm going to damage it. Probably shouldn't be like too concerned, but too gentle with it, but it is a concern because it's honestly quite tough to get in. Power up. Yeah, and there he is, just to let you know like the way things are going. Oh, and of course there's the card there with the sounds and things, which I believe you can customize. And I don't know if I'm going to be messing around with the settings though, because honestly, from what I have seen so far, what it has is plenty enough. And to be honest, compared to the RGB blade as well, this comes with a massive variety of different sounds and sights attached to it, which we will test out now. So, a lot like the previous saber, the gradient one, it is a single button function. So you have to kind of cycle through the options by keeping the button pressed. For example, I've just powered it on there. I do have it on mute, by the way, just for the purposes of this video. And I also have the blade taken out this time, but obviously you'll see on the demonstration not. I think one of the biggest attractions of using the pixel blade as opposed to the original RGB one I had for the Gradient Saber is, of course, the startup, the ignition sequence. It actually does travel up the blade, and obviously I forgot to mention that on my pixel video, and I had some people asking about it. Yeah, it's not a feature for the RGB blades, but it is for the pixel and the other blades as well. In fact, kind of demonstrating here, there's actually a few different options that you can use for startups. I think it came pre-loaded with maybe, I don't know, I think there's maybe 11 different ignitions, or maybe 10, 12 different blades. It's quite interesting. Oh, and I am going to have to I am censoring some of this just because a couple of the options you have are like very fast and stroby, so just on the off chance there's someone with photosensitive epilepsy out there, I just don't want to make anyone uncomfortable or trigger anything. But again, like the last one, we've got like a good sort of impact thing with the blade where it strikes something and it flashes. In fact, on this one, it's actually optional. You can switch that off, you know, with keeping the button pressed down to the correct options and stuff. Again, like the last one, there's also a really cool selection of Star Wars sound effects there. I guess the biggest selling point, I would say, for this one, as opposed to the RGB blade, is just those additional options. Like, there are quite a lot, and you can add more simply, like, through customization through the card. For me, personally, I guess there's just quite a lot of different options, and the only slight criticism I might give is because of the single button function, it does take a little while to cycle through them, so if you want to like sort of set things up to a particular preference of like ignition, like or type of blade, you're gonna have to like either have a good memory or just like maybe write down the different options when you cycle through them. But it's a very small complaint. Like, honestly, for its price, this is a really cool, sophisticated little prop here, and again, it looks absolutely gorgeous. And you know, some of the other blades types and ignition types are kind of fun. This one I refer to as the Pride Parade blade. So, hey, if you want to take your lightsaber to the next one and, you know, swing it around for justice, this will be a pretty good one. It's kind of hard to see on the camera and like the lighting, but it is basically like a rainbow colored one. And there's also an option when you switch the blade color when it's switched on to go like a more pastel kind of rainbow. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, in order not to make this video too long, there's kind of not much else to say. Obviously, I haven't been through all the options here. I've only been through a few of them. But yeah, really cool. So if you are interested in the blade, especially one with many different options, I would definitely go for the pixels. If you want something a bit like more straightforward and basic, so far in my experience, I'd maybe go with the RGB. I am actually considering getting another lightsaber next month, and I'm not entirely decided if I want to go for another pixel or maybe the one higher up, or I might even go back to the RBG. Not quite. To be honest, part of the fun is just playing with these, but also part of the fun is kind of having them as a display piece, especially on my burgeoning Star Wars EU collection. So I don't know, I'll kind of think about that later, but I am now kind of thinking ahead of getting one of the Vader sabers. Similar to the Prodigal Son here, there is like an affordable version which is a bit more stripped down, or you can get like much more close screen replica. Honestly, I think I like the look of the affordable version a bit more, even if it may be slightly less screen accurate, but that's just me. Anyway, we'll see about that. But no, thank you very much for watching, and absolutely, you know the website, it is www.theorysabers.com if you want to pick up your own, and at least in my limited experience, these are like well worth it and are super cool props. But well, that's all from me. If I get another blade, maybe I will do another brief video on it, but I think I've kind of expanded my limited talking points here, but we'll see, but I'll definitely be showing off any more that I get as well.